New Journal and Guide. Subscribe today.
It's how can we get the economy moving at a stronger pace than that?
Government spending doesn't create jobs. You're in an area of Virginia where 50% of the economy is government spending. We have a Oceana Naval Air Station. You've got the Norfolk Naval Base, Portsmouth Naval Shipyard across the river. You got the Newport News Shipyard, Fort Eustis, Langley Air Force Base, NASA Langley. By the time you've done government spending, that is one half of the economy of Hampton Roads. And if you start savaging the government spending, you will have a serious adverse effect to the economy. We have, people want to do this budget thing on some formulas. It's choices. You make choices. About 2 years ago, we made a choice that we'd raise taxes over $1 trillion, and we would have universal health care. Now, the choice was, if you want universal health care, it's going to cost you $1 trillion in taxes. If you don't want to pay $1 trillion in taxes, you're not going to get the universal health care. And that's a choice. We made an affirmative choice. You don't do that on formula, like you're going to cut this much and raise this much, just in the abstract. You have to make choices. And you want a comprehensive budget? Congressional Black Caucus budget. I was the primary author of it, so I know what's in it. It goes through line by line, shows where you're going to get the money and what you're going to do with it. There are no holes and no asterisks or anything like that. Now, in the Ryan budget, there is a $4 trillion asterisk. He says he's going to cut the marginal tax rate from 35 to 25, asterisk revenue neutral. Well, revenue neutral means they've got to go find $4 trillion. Now, put $4 trillion in perspective, the super committee couldn't come up with $1 trillion. And you're going to tell the Ways and Means Committee, go find $4 trillion. Otherwise, you've got a $4 trillion hole in the budget. The spending, non-defense discretionary spending, is now at the lowest point since we passed Medicare. But all of this problem can be solved. We can solve it. E.J. Dionne, who's a columnist for Washington Post, pointed out when the super committee was about to fail, because they couldn't come up with $1 trillion in additional savings, he said, look, if the super committee succeeds and finds $1 trillion, we'll have $1 trillion we've already got in the budget, plus that trillion, we'll have $2 trillion in deficit reduction. On the other hand, if they fail and go home and take the rest of Congress with them, we'll get $2 trillion in sequesters. We'll get $4 trillion because they didn't extend the Bush tax cuts. We'll get another $1 trillion because we didn't fix the doc fix and the AMT and some other things we always fix. If they just go home and do nothing, we get $7 trillion in deficit reduction. Now, all you're aiming at is 4. So, I mean, if you do nothing, you get 7. What is the problem? We can solve this, but it takes fundamental principles of arithmetic. You can't start the discussion of what to do about $1 trillion a year deficit. You can't start the discussion with tax cuts. There are going to be some tough decisions. You've got to raise some taxes and or cut some spending.
This production has been brought to you by Image Entertainment.